welcome back to Plant Life Midlife. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about this really cool medium called Fluval Stratum. You can get it on Amazon, you can get it in pet stores, and I know it's been used a lot in aquariums for rooting aquarium plants, but recently it's beginning to become popular as a medium for regular plants, either cuttings or seedlings, or maybe just rootings that aren't doing very well. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about it, how I use it, and why it is really, really amazing. I'll tell you why in a second. Okay, so a little bit about this medium. It's actually made out of the volcanic ash around mountains in Japan. So I have to do a little more research. I'm hoping it's not a finite resource. I'm hoping there's always more of it, because I would feel bad if I'm using something that is in short supply. But it is a little bit crushable. So you can see on my fingers, it turns into basically like an ash, and it is full of nutrients. So you really don't need to add a ton to it in order for it to serve as the medium for your plant. Some people, like myself, add a little bit of diluted water with fertilizer, but let me start at the beginning, and I'll step through it step by step so you can understand how I'm using it. First off, I want to show a couple of plants that I have started in Fluval Stratum. Okay, this is a cutting of my gorgeous Dalton Henry Hoya. I got it, it was like yay big. It was dark and beautiful and growing like crazy. And because I don't water sufficiently, I'm really bad, like I mentioned in my other video, I got root rot, and the leaves just started to die off. They started to get really floppy, which is a good sign of root rot when you squeeze the leaves and they're floppy like this one is. I actually have another cutting from this same plant who is doing a little better. Her leaves are, as you can see, they're quite a bit firmer. This is the taco squeeze, and you squeeze it gently from the side, and if it's really squeezable, it means your leaves, for some Hoyas, it means your leaves are showing signs of root rot. The plant is showing signs of root rot. This is the other cutting, and what I did with this guy, I'm going to take it out of the stratum now. I had it in water initially with a little bit of rooting hormone, and that didn't produce roots after a month. And then I tried moss, and that didn't produce roots for a month or so. I mean, literally, this has been probably 5 months since I've cut this plant up. And it's not dying, but it's not growing roots. So I'm gonna put on my glasses so I can actually see better what I'm showing you. It's really hard to see, but this is after 4 days in Fluval Stratum. I don't know if you can see this tiny little root that's emerging. This is like a miracle. I mean, you might think, well, big whoop-de-doo, there's a tiny root, but literally it's probably 5 months with this guy with no root growth at all. So I'm really happy. Anyway, so I have him in Fluval Stratum. Here's his little jar. This is an old pesto jar that I use. And my second one that I've been doing in Fluval Stratum, who wasn't doing good, was this Hoya rotundiflora. I love Hoyas, and I always wanted this one, and I got it probably 3 months ago, and it refused to grow roots. It was just a cutting, and I had it like with the other Hoya that I just showed you. I had this in water, in moss, in perlite, directly in soil that I kept moist. It would not grow roots. So I finally put it in Fluval Stratum about 10 days ago, and without taking all the, okay, ignore this thing because that's actually a dead root, but you can see there are some roots forming, very, very fine roots beginning to form. And again, like with the other Hoya, it's not dying. This cutting is not dying, it's just not doing anything. So, because of the nutrients in this Fluval Stratum, because it's magic stuff, I don't know, these two have basically come to life. So I'm really happy about that. You can also, okay, so let me go back to what I'm doing here. So this is my Lauterbachia, which is a purple sword alocasia, and I got him about I don't know, 3 months ago. And the leaves were pretty big when I got them, like a good 8 inches. And then the leaves started to fall off, and then they just kind of got brown and sad. I mean, you can see the roots look pretty good. I mean, I had them in soil. So this is the roots, and they're doing pretty good. It's just not thriving. Now, I admit he's not in high enough humidity. These guys need really high humidity, like 70%. So in addition to putting him in the Fluval Stratum, I'm also going to put one of these domes on top of him, like that. And I got this on Amazon. This is hopefully going to create a little bit of humidity inside the dome. I'm not going to put him on a heat mat. Some people recommend that. With the Fluval Stratum, I don't put it on a heat mat because it just dries it out way too fast. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We've got this guy. I've got my jar. Yay, another pesto jar. I've got my jar. What is recommended? Okay, there's 2 ways to do this. You can do the stratum, just stratum, keep it moist, and plop the plant in. And that seems to work for a lot of people. But something that I find more effective is to use a little bit of leca, which are these hard balls, okay? You can get them at any plant store or online. I'm gonna put a little bit of leca on the bottom. So it's gonna be a reservoir of these little leca balls that are gonna hold some moisture. A little more. Okay, so that's probably too many. Okay, so it's like 3/4 of an inch, 1/2 inch of leca balls, okay? And then on top of that, I'm gonna put the stratum, and in the stratum, I will put this beautiful plant. Now I'm hoping this is not too small. I don't think it is. So what I'm gonna do is put a little bit of the stratum, okay, and then put my plant, tuck his pretty leaves that he roots that he already has, growing quite well. I'm gonna stuff them in there, hoping he likes to be tight. And then add some more stratum on top. Stay there. All the way to the top. Okay, so now you have the stratum. Okay. And then what you're gonna do is add some water. I use water with about a 1/2 dose of fertilizer in it. This is my little water jug. And just fill up so the reservoir just up to the level of the stratum. So there we go. So that's about 1 inch. Tuck those roots in to the best of your ability. I actually think this jar is a tiny bit too small, but that's all I had available. And what I want to do is in a couple weeks, I'm going to do another video to see how he's doing. Now we know the roots are already looking pretty good, so that wasn't a concern of mine. It's just the leaves just are struggling. Like they're not looking lush and big and purple like when I got him. And I'm also going to put him under the humidity dome. So I hope that with the combination of the Fluval Stratum and the humidity dome, he will bounce back. So that is just a little bit of info about this stuff. You can buy it, like I said, on Amazon, a 4-pound bag for about $18. So it's not cheap. So I don't recommend using it for every single plant you have, but you can use it for your difficult to root plants or for your cuttings that are just beginning. You can also, what I did here with this other cutting of my Hoya, is just place a little topping, a top dressing of the Fluval Stratum on top. So every time I water it, goes through and leaches some of those nutrients into the soil, and the roots will grow faster. And this is also a nice way to get the benefits of the Fluval Stratum without going through, you know, a 20-pound bag a week. They also sell it in larger bags. But again, I was just started trying this out a few weeks ago. But I'm so impressed with how quickly the plants are rooting, and also my incredibly difficult Hoya rotundiflora, who literally wouldn't root for me. I mean, I tried everything. And I mean, she's getting roots. I mean, this is amazing. And you know, some of these cuttings we get are not cheap, as you know. I mean, you know, you spend money for like someone's cutting with no roots, and you really want to get it to root. It is definitely worth the investment to get some of this stuff. So I hope that gives you a little information about this new medium, and if you have any questions, post them below. So in a few weeks, you'll see me again with a follow-up video about how this beautiful alocasia is doing. All right, have a great day.